Did you get the message? Escalation, escalation, escalation. You're going to hear a lot about that this weekend. I was given recently, actually it was emailed to me, a link to an article called, it's out of Christian Today, not Christianity Today, but Christian Today. It's a UK magazine. And the title of it is Zombie Christians and the End of the World. Let me read a paragraph. I think you'll identify with, the way I feel. And it says this is a Christian magazine. Now, denomination, I have no idea, and it doesn't matter. I just know it's probably not coming from where you and I are coming from. And it says, it's easy to point a finger at the fundamentalist fringe, that's us, who have been mass marketing the apocalypse through films like Left Behind and others, based on a weakly constructed theology of rapture where believers are beamed up to heaven to avoid the catastrophes awaiting the planet. Christians have tended to deliver an altered and edited gospel, producing zombie Christians that are merely souls waiting for heaven. Now, it's a long article, and that's all I'm going to read, but I think you get the drift of it just with that paragraph, that those of us, and just about everyone tonight, I am sure, is longing for heaven. Now, some of us more than others, but nonetheless, a future home away from the grief, trials, troubles, disappointments, and heartaches of planet Earth, and how things have spun out of control. And that's what I want to focus on for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to bring up my number one speaker, but I want to focus on a couple of things. You know, there was a prominent TV preacher who said very recently, he said to his audience, you know what, we're not in Kansas anymore. And have you noticed that? Things aren't as they used to be. Nothing's familiar anymore. I was referring to Wizard of the Oz or Wizard of Oz, whatever, and Dorothy saying we're not in Kansas anymore because she didn't recognize anything. Some of us feel the same way. There's been a fundamental transformation, and not a good one, but it is outlined in the Bible. Now, I just want to go over a few things. And again, please be patient with me as folks come in from, who knows where they got lost and couldn't get here. Some things that we couldn't even have talked about 20 years ago and possibly even not 10 years ago. Things like Iran and Russia are now pals. I mean, they have united. They are working together. They are active allies. Okay, that's Ezekiel 38:39, Gog, Magog, I think. As a matter of fact, Magog is stirring. I believe that's Russia. As we speak, very active in Syria, very active in other places. Vladimir Putin, I'm not saying he's Gog. I don't know that. I would never go out on a limb and say that, but he was dormant for a number of years. Now he's back, escalating everything all over the world, but heavily in the Middle East and parts of Eastern Europe. Isaiah 17, do we know what that is? That is the utter destruction of Damascus. Not that we want that to happen, but Damascus is begging Israel to obliterate her. We've got ISIS heading to Damascus. We've got the Russians heading to Damascus. If you heard Benjamin Netanyahu recently at the UN, you could hear and see the frustration on his face. You could hear and sense the alienation that he feels from the world. And his pause of almost a minute said a whole lot, did it not? But Damascus is begging Israel to come and obliterate her. Okay, we've got global government. We've got all sorts of people championing a one-world governmental system. We've got the Pope, we've got Barack Obama, we've got the United Nations. They're all cheering for global government. Revelation 13, a one-world system. Did you ever think you would see such perilous times? And I know Michelle will talk a little bit more about this tomorrow. America has become an agent for the Ayatollahs. Did you ever think you'd see that? We are agents for the mullahs of Iran. The White House has lit the spark for Armageddon, literally. We don't know if it's tomorrow, a year, 10 years, but it's lit the spark for Armageddon. Our own government has done that. And yet we've got people like Neville Chamberlain crying, peace and safety in our time, peace and safety. Amazing. Strong delusion. We've got distress with perplexity. What that literally means is nations having problems so serious there are no known answers for them, be it weather-related, economy-related, these kinds of issues going on. We've got people longing for a man with a plan. I don't remember Henry Spaak, S-P-A-A-K, because he made this statement back in the 1950s, but it's a very famous statement at this point in time. People are quoting it all the time. He was a part of NATO in the 1950s, and I think that was a fairly safe time, but he said that man was longing for one person who could come along and solve the world's problems. And Mr. Spock said, quote, "Be he God or devil, we will follow him." That was said in the 1950s. How much more are we longing for a man with a plan, for a Mr. Fix-It? We are calling good evil and evil good. We've never seen it like it is today. We've got the wiping out of Israel by the world, that the world think that's pretty good idea. The fact that Iran is going to be the new power player of the Middle East, that's called good. Doesn't make any sense, but evil is being called good and good is being called evil. Again, the mad mullahs have nukes and that's good. Such insanity. Could I have the picture of the White House put on the screen, please? We have the deviancy being celebrated. It's called good. Could I have the next picture, please? We have the increase of evil. This is the goddess Kali, a Hindu goddess, demon. This was beamed on the Empire State Building in New York City last month. And imagine, is this some sort of a statement? Is this the new matriarch of America? We have evil being called good. This was celebrated in New York City. This Hindu goddess Kali put on the building of the Empire State Building for a day back a month ago. So these are the kinds of things that we never would have thought of 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But we're in the very end of the end times, and so we need to be expecting these kinds of things. And here's, I think, my point, is we must not look around unless we first look up. If we can look up, we can tolerate this looking around and seeing these kinds of things. And the Bible says that when you begin to see these things, look up and know that your redemption. When you begin to see these things, and I think that everyone here tonight has a sense of urgency, a sense of countdown, a sense that things will never quite be the same again. And my own conclusion is this, that God is shaking us up, trying to wake us up so that we will look up. He's shaking us up, trying to wake us up so that we will look up. I want to close by reading a real short item. One of my supporters wrote this. Her name is Sandy. And it's just a few paragraphs. And I'll tell you, if this makes me a zombie Christian, I'm proud of it. Let me read it to you. Sandy Tuzinski, thank you for writing this and sending it to me. She says, "I'm taking a trip to a foreign country." She says, "A country I've never seen before, a country I have never walked before. It is so exciting to think about and plan for. I have purchased many maps to memorize and have studied the language of this kingdom. Although this trip is going to be so much different than any other trip I have taken so far because I will not need to pack any clothing, no glasses, no medications. My passport has been purchased and authorized with a great price. The seals for every visa I will ever need have been procured. I have faith that the tour guides on this secure flight will be knowledgeable, courteous, and swift. I know I will pass through security like a breeze. I will have no need for a pat-down. I was informed that this will be a round trip, and there will be a grand layover celebration before I will be returning with an enormous tour group made up of many horse-riding folks. There is still so much room on this flight, and I hope that you will be coming, but you had best hurry. The standby list is filling up fast. The red-eye list, too. Keep watch on the overhead screens, as we do not know what time or gate we will depart from." And then she concludes, "A new name will be given to me in this new country, so my name tag will change, but you'll still be able to recognize me by my beaming smile." And then she closes with 1 Thessalonians 4:17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever, ever, forever, and forever be with the Lord. If that makes me a zombie Christian, I am proud of it.